Okay, think back for a second. When do you really start remembering things? Your life, I mean.
Yeah, like a continuous story, not just flashes.
Exactly. It's a tricky question, isn't it? And, well, it ties into what we're exploring in this deep dive,
Which is this really interesting idea.
that maybe looking back at how we saw the world as, really little kids
Mm-hmm.
could help us quiet that inner chatter,
Yeah.
that constant voice.
And maybe even unlock a totally different way of, like, seeing things.
Right. It's about that connection, potentially,
No.
between those super early memories, the ones you can't really access, and, well, how we perceive reality now.
Absolutely. And we're drawing on some fascinating material today, sparked by a video from Sergei Kontsevoy.
Okay.
And it brings in ideas from people like Don Juan Matus, via Carlos Castaneda,
Castaneda?
and also Ramana Maharshi, plus some pretty surprising takes on how consciousness even develops early on.
Yeah. And the real benefit for you listening is getting maybe a new perspective on your own development, your own awareness, without getting tangled up in like super complex jargon. We're hoping for those aha moments.
Those shifts in understanding.
Exactly. So our mission today is pretty clear. Let's unpack these ideas from Kontsevoy about childhood perception and why revisiting it could actually be, well, pretty significant for growth.
Okay, so where do we start? The video suggests that, if you've already done some self-reflection.
Right. Maybe integrated some new ways of thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Then the next step, the sort of deeper dive, could actually involve looking back, specifically at your childhood.
But why childhood? What's the connection there?
Well, the source links it to two key things. The potential for asumen.
Which is like seeing, real insight,
Kind of, yeah, seeing beyond the usual. And the other thing is stopping the foil.
that internal monologue, the chatter.
Right, and this is where Don Juan Matus, through Castaneda's books, comes into the picture.
Okay.
Now, the source does briefly mention something called the euchailoi, the human matrix.
The human matrix sounds intense.
It does, and it asks if it should be, like, removed. But we're going to focus more on maybe gentler ways to get to that mater.
Okay, good. So what are these other ways?
Well, the video mentions two paths. One is trying to see that matrix we just talked about.
Right.
But the other path, and this is the one we'll dig into more, is inspired by Ramana Maharshi.
Ah, okay. What's that involve?
It's called Ufihabuk. Basically, contemplating the very source of your I, your sense of self.
Contemplating the source of I.
Yeah. It connects to that fundamental I am feeling. It's similar to a practice called ophiai, or self-inquiry.
Interesting. And this ties into memory, doesn't it?
It does, because it raises this big question. Why can we usually only remember things from about age 3 onwards?
Yeah. It's weird, right? Because toddlers, even younger kids, they're obviously aware, they respond, they learn.
They definitely seem to be processing things, reasoning even in their own way.
But ask an adult about being 1 or 2, and it's mostly blank.
Exactly. So why? The source suggests it's because our whole way of perceiving the world was different back then.
Different how?
Fundamentally different. Before we got, socialized and learned the rules of adult perception.
So our actual experience of reality was different.
That's the idea. And it connects to this concept of the assembly point.
Yeah, the assemblage point. Think of it as the focal point that kind of organizes our perception of reality.
Okay.
For most adults, it's pretty fixed. But in young kids, the idea is that it's much more fluid, mobile.
Like it hasn't locked into place yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which suggests a very different kind of sensory experience in that first year or so, even if we can't consciously recall it later.
So the world might have literally looked or felt different to us.
It's possible. The source sort of implies that, like maybe children are naturally seriors because this point isn't fixed.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this connects to Castaneda, too, you said. Yeah, there are echoes in his later work about Schiller or heightened awareness.
Okay.
And one of the big things he described was how difficult, sometimes impossible, it was to remember experiences from those states once back in normal consciousness.
So it highlights how different perceptual states can be almost like separate worlds, hard to bridge.
Precisely. Different modes of perception might not translate easily.
So let's get back to childhood. The video suggests that during that time we can't remember.
Uh-huh.
We were likely in a state of, like, natural joy, serenity.
That's the proposition.
Yeah.
And even earlier, potentially that state of being a seer.
Which implies that maybe that capacity isn't gone, it's just dormant,
Yeah.
recoverable.
That's the hopeful implication, yeah. The deeper way of seeing might still be accessible somehow.
Okay, but if we try to reconnect, should we expect it to be exactly the same as it was back then?
That's a really good question. The source acknowledges, we've been conditioned since then. Life happens.
Right. Experiences shape us.
Exactly. So it might not be an exact replica. It even mentions things like hypnosis or regression therapy.
Trying to access earlier states, even prenatal ones.
Yeah, those kinds of approaches. It also briefly brings up an idea from Sergei Lazarev
What's that?
about a fetus at some point experiencing unity with the entire universe.
Unity with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's hard to even wrap your head around.
It really is. But it points to these potentially profound early states of being.
So if these states were so natural, maybe even blissful, why is it hard to get back there? What are the obstacles?
Well, the video touches on the Freudian idea of accumulated trauma, basically.
Traumatic moments. Or just impactful experiences.
Could be both. Things stored in the subconscious that act as, like, barriers or filters on our perception now.
That makes sense. Life leaves its mark, doesn't it?
It does. And the source also points out something interesting. We spend a lot of our day in trance states anyway.
Trance states. Like zoning out.
Sometimes naturally, yeah. Or when you're just really absorbed in something. It highlights how much the subconscious is running in the background.
Okay. So if we want to try and reconnect with that earlier perception, where do we even begin?
The starting point, according to the video, is intention.
Intention.
Yeah.
But not just like wishing for it.
No, it's stronger than that, more focused. Closer to Don Juan's idea of intent, a directed will.
Okay, a clear intention. But why? What's the motivation?
That's crucial. The source suggests the why needs to be deep, connected to those big existential questions.
Like, who am I? What is this reality?
Exactly. Not just about, fitting in better or achieving societal goals. It's more fundamental.
Got it. And practically speaking, what's the first step?
Focus on what you can control. And the video suggests starting with simply remembering your childhood.
Just remembering.
Yeah, as a way to start immersing yourself back into that time, but from where you are now.
So not diving straight into the deep end, but starting with accessible memories.
Right. Specifically, recalling positive moments from your childhood first. Things you can access easily in your current state.
Why positive ones?
The idea seems to be about gently guiding yourself back towards a state of, like, normalcy and well-being first, building a stable base.
Okay, that makes sense. Start simple. Start positive.
And here's a twist. The video suggests that what we might think of as an advanced state, that in the deeper seeing, is actually the natural state of a very young child.
Because their assemblage point was still fluid.
Exactly. That fluidity potentially allowed for interaction with different realities, different ways of experiencing things.
Different realities.
Yeah. And the video even hints you might be able to reestablish some connection with those, well, worlds or states from childhood.
But carefully, I imagine.
Yes, definitely with caution. It suggests maybe getting guidance from people who are further along the laws it mentions.
Okay, so proceed with awareness. Are there pitfalls to watch out for?
Yes. Getting lost in thinking too much about it. Over-intellectualizing. The source calls it a swamp.
Like getting stuck in mud. A swamp.
Kind of, yeah. Getting bogged down in complex theories, or maybe getting distracted by all the weird and wonderful things some psychics talk about seeing out there.
Right. Keep the focus inward.
Exactly. The emphasis is really on your inner world as your domain, your space to work, to create yourself, essentially, inner sovereignty.
And what about, trying to get others to see this?
The video suggests that true inner growth speaks for itself. People who are ready will be drawn to it naturally.
So forcing it doesn't work.
Generally not, no. It often just creates resistance.
There's also that grounding phrase you mentioned.
Ah, yes. The world was not invented by you.
It's simple, but quite profound, isn't it?
It is. It encourages a kind of calm acceptance, allowing you to focus on your own path without feeling responsible for fixing everything.
Right. Work on yourself within the world as it is.
Though, interestingly, it does briefly speculate about the future.
How so?
Suggesting that maybe, down the line, a wider understanding of these ideas could lead to, like, rethinking societal structures.
A collective shift.
Potentially. It also touches on various prophecies and a complex idea about a downward transition managed by some planetary level. Very abstract stuff.
Okay, so quite far-reaching ideas there.
Yeah.
But bringing it back,
the core work is always internal. It's about your inner world, how you react, how you shape your experience.
and the purpose of this whole exploration, this dive into childhood perception.
Is primarily for you. for your own self-understanding, your own clarity of your own insight.
It's not just about feeling a bit better then.
No, the encouragement is really to strive beyond basic self-improvement, to aim for realizing your full, innate human potential.
The potential we perhaps touched upon as very young children before the world shaped us too much.
Exactly. Recalling discussions about human capabilities and maybe finding mentors or guidance.
So, okay, wrapping this up, the big idea, the key takeaway.
Is that looking again at how you experienced the world way back in early childhood, before the fixed views, before the constant inner talk.
Right.
That might hold some real keys to a different grasp of reality, and maybe unlocking more of your own potential.
It's a fascinating perspective.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for you to chew on. Even without distinct memories, what feelings or sensory echoes from your earliest life might still be there, subtly?
Like faint traces.
Yeah, and how might just paying attention to those, exploring those subtle inner hints actually shift how you see things right now?
Food for thought indeed. It's about memory, perception, and maybe, just maybe, tapping into something deeper within ourselves.
A personal exploration, really, into awareness itself.